Welcome, everybody. This is the CF Nutrition and New Day Care Center Town Hall call. We are excited to have everybody here with us. And my name is Lee Ellington. I am the Executive Director for the Tennessee chapter of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We are excited to host this call in partnership with our friends at the CF Care Center at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Today, we are going to have with us the director of the CF Center, pulmonologist, Dr. James Tolle. Dr. Tolle graduated from the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center and Medical School in 2001. He specializes in critical care medicine, internal medicine, and pulmonary disease. Dr. Tolle joined the Vanderbilt Pulmonology Clinic in 2009, and he has been the director of the CF Care Center at Vanderbilt University Medical Center since 2016. Also speaking today is our CF clinical dietitian, Katie Hinton. After receiving her bachelor's degree in dietetics and nutrition from Western Kentucky University, Katie completed her internship and graduated from the University of Memphis with her master's degree in clinical nutrition. After completing her internship program, she moved to Nashville and has been a clinical dietitian with Vanderbilt University Medical Center for 4 years. She has worked with the Adult Cystic Fibrosis Clinic at Vanderbilt since the summer of 2018. And one of our CF ambassadors and an adult with CF, Kayla English, is our final speaker for today. Kayla was diagnosed with CF at age 6. She is a fantastic ambassador for the CF community, always willing to share her story of personal growth, struggles, and triumphs. She and her family have been avid supporters of the CF Foundation for over 20 years and continue to fight for a cure today. Kayla graduated from Middle Tennessee State University and spent 10 years as an elementary school teacher. After experiencing the benefits firsthand, Kayla followed her passion and became a full-time personal trainer for Unlimited Training Systems last year. Kayla lives in Knoxville, Tennessee with her husband, Eldon, and their 2 dogs and 4 cats, the mini fur babies of the Eldon family. We are excited to have them presenting today again on CF Nutrition, a new day. As they are going, if you would like to put in any questions that you would like answered, please find the Q&A function within Zoom. Chat is also open if you just want to provide chat commentary as we go. But if you have a question, we ask you to use Q&A so we can keep those organized and clear. So, without any other further ado, Dr. Tolle, I will turn it over to you to start with our presentation.
Great, thank you, Lee. Let me share screen here. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is James Tolle. I'm the medical director of the Vanderbilt Adult CF program. And Lee has introduced everyone who's going to be speaking today, so I will get going. We're talking about CF nutrition. We call it a new day, really talking and thinking about CF nutrition in the era of highly effective modulator therapy. And going to speak a little bit about just calorie balance, think about positive and negative calorie balance, really affects and goes along with whether weight is gained or lost. Obviously, if more calories are taken in than are consumed or burned, weight gain will be experienced. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, if one is burning or losing more calories or consuming more calories than they're eating, they'll lose weight. Ideally, if someone's in an optimal, excellent state of nutrition with appropriate weight, we want to see weight stay the same. So there'd be a balance there, a balance between consumption of calories and burning of calories. If someone is malnourished, which obviously is quite common in cystic fibrosis, we really want to see a weight gain or positive calorie balance, do more things to help take calories in and consume them. And on the other hand, if someone is overweight or obese, we want the opposite. Still eating healthily and taking in calories, but ultimately consuming or burning more calories so that they lose weight. And there are a lot of factors that go into this. When we talk about positive calorie balance, the first thing is just adequate calorie intake. Is there access to food? Does the food have enough calories for someone to gain weight? In cystic fibrosis, pancreatic enzymes are essential for most patients to absorb those nutrients. And then really something we don't always talk about, but it's just disease control, less inflammation, less infection. When the disease is controlled and there's less of these things with infection and inflammation going on, more of those calories can be put into muscle and appropriate weight. On the opposite end of the spectrum, when calorie balance is negative, we think about less food, so less access to food. Maybe someone has low appetite or is vomiting due to their illness. Not taking enzymes and malabsorption is a big component. But really, if the disease is flaring and there's more infection and more inflammation, then even if you're taking in plenty of calories, you might lose weight if so much of that effort is going to fighting infection, using respiratory muscles, coughing, etc. So how do modulators help increase weight? Well, first and foremost, the most important thing is they decrease the severity of illness. They decrease the number of exacerbations. So as I was mentioning, less calories are being used just to power the respiratory muscles, cough, fight infection, etc. Periods of low appetite, vomiting, and diarrhea that might happen due to the illness itself or may be a side effect of antibiotic therapy. Increasing hunger, increasing exercise, promoting hunger, and eating is another big part of it. The real key is that it's not a medication side effect. It's not an adverse reaction. It's not something the medicine just does by itself, but it does through all those other things. And you can see here in these plots from two of the major studies that were published in highly effective modulator therapy. The top one is ivacaftor from 2011 in New England Journal, which is in patients with G551D, so a gating mutation. And you can see that in a pretty short period of time, there's significant weight gain. The 2019 New England Journal plot below is from Trikafta, and it showed a significant increase in body mass index in 24 weeks. You'll notice that there's nothing here from the Orkambi and Symdeko studies because those didn't actually show a significant increase in weight, probably just because they're not as effective as ivacaftor originally was for the group it's indicated for, and now Trikafta, which is obviously indicated for a much larger group. So when we talk about the importance of nutrition in CF, we think about body mass index, and it's kind of the number we use. The CF Foundation guidelines on the left suggest for adults that women should have a body mass index greater than or equal to 22 kilograms per meter squared and men greater than 23. And this is a number we focus on in CF Clinic. We call that the green zone. On the right, this is a plot that's just meant for the general public. The numbers and the colors do not reflect the CF nutrition zones, and the numbers themselves are not specifically referencing adequate nutrition in CF. But you can see that body mass index is used to classify people who are normal weight, overweight, obese. And so it's a chapter we've not really seen yet in cystic fibrosis commonly, but it's something that is starting to be experienced more, which is, what do you do when you're gaining weight? For all those facts we talked about before, the calorie balance is much more positive. It can lead to increases in weight, ultimately into these overweight and obese categories, which we do think ultimately for all people are not healthy. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie, who's the dietitian in our adult program, and I will stop the share.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tolle. Like they said, I'm Katie Hinton. I'm the dietitian with the CF team at Vanderbilt. I just wanted to thank you guys for having me here and logging in and listening to this. I'll just share my screen as well real quick so you can see my PowerPoint. Let's see. Again, if you guys have any questions during this short presentation, just feel free to write it in the Q&A section, and then we will answer it at the end of the session. Thanks. So we are here for nutrition and cystic fibrosis post-Trikafta, pretty much. So real quick, just some objectives that we're going to discuss, just kind of in a short presentation, is the importance of optimizing nutrition in CF, pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy, or PERT, or enzymes, nutrition in CF post-Trikafta, weight management, and fat mass versus muscle mass, and then also how to safely lose unwanted weight after starting Trikafta. So much like Dr. Tolle said, the CF Foundation recommended that people with CF maintain a certain BMI. Like he said, for females, it is 22. For males, it's 23. And this is associated with higher lung function As you can tell in this graph on this slide, they are directly correlated. So typically higher weight equals higher lung function equals higher weight, kind of as Dr. Tolle said, with the balance of having less energy needs required for working your lungs so hard. So that is why we push the BMI zones at our center, like Dr. Tolle had mentioned, and why that kind of changes who I see depending on their BMI status. And this is why our patients maintaining a certain weight is so important to us. So on to the next thing, we have our pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy, or the enzymes. These capsules that most of you all are very well aware of help with absorption in patients with cystic fibrosis. They are so important for optimizing nutrition in both pre and post Trikafta. As most of us are aware, the functions of enzymes are to digest carbs, proteins, and fats, to help with weight gain, and to promote nutrient absorption and prevent vitamin deficiencies. So, although Trikafta is helping people to absorb better and helping with weight gain, pancreatic enzymes are still super important. Whether or not you notice a difference with taking the enzymes, they are working within your body to help with nutrient absorption, keeping vitamin levels within normal limits, and allowing your body to absorb everything it needs to work properly. It is so important to still be taking your enzymes after starting Trikafta for the absorption benefits. If you feel like you're becoming more constipated or having any signs of malabsorption symptoms, please reach out to your team or your dietitian and just let us know so that the enzyme doses can be adjusted. We do not recommend adjusting them on your own. Just let us know, and it's a pretty quick fix. So, also, it's kind of been discussed before. As we are aware, Trikafta has so many amazing benefits. One of those benefits, helping us to absorb better, and good or bad, this will typically lead to weight gain. So now is the time to change the way our mindsets are with the way we look at food. You most likely no longer need to eat just nonstop to maintain a certain weight, and no longer need to eat only high-fat foods. Now you can see food more as a great source of fuel for your body and helping you to continue to feel better, and work on filling it with good sources of nutrition, such as less processed foods and meats, more fruits and vegetables, lean sources of protein, things like that. If we are wanting our bodies to perform better and keep us healthy, we also need to be fueling them with food that can help it do that. And I know that weight typically is a sensitive topic, but when we talk about gaining weight and the way we look, changing body image and how we see ourselves in the mirror comes to mind. Self-perception and body image and having a healthy weight can differ clinically versus what we see in the mirror. I know from personal experience that sometimes you may be harder on yourself than you need to be. And sometimes what we see and what we think we need to be is different than what's healthiest for our bodies. You may look in the mirror after starting Trikafta and your body may look different. There may be a little extra fat, a few more curves. But what we need to realize is that this little weight gain is a healthier version of you, and your body is doing what it's supposed to. It's supporting healthier lung function. Society says that we need to be as thin as possible, but it's okay to carry a few extra pounds if that is what your body needs to be healthy. If anyone is ever struggling with body image or not understanding the relation between a healthy weight gain and lung function, please reach out to us and let us know, and I would love to have a longer discussion about the topic. But on the other hand, there can be such a thing as too much weight gain. And by this point, we all understand the benefits of Trikafta, and one of those being weight gain, whether it's welcomed or not. The importance of this presentation is to help everyone understand what is important for our bodies, whether that's a little weight loss or a little weight gain. Before Trikafta, some of you may have not been able to do a lot of physical activity without becoming out of breath. But now post Trikafta, you may have tried. You can go longer runs, longer walks, and that is so great. And we need to take advantage of it. Go on a walk or a jog, start lifting weights, or start a new hobby like biking or rock climbing. Not only will physical activity help your body to become a healthier version of itself, but it will help you feel better as well. Being physically active is great for organ health, bone health, mental health, just all over health. For most people with CF, weight gain has always been a big goal and sometimes a struggle. With my patients, I've tried to discuss the importance of muscle mass and how building it can help with weight gain while still being fit and comfortable in our bodies. Now that weight gain is coming easier to people in Trikafta, we want to make sure that this weight gain helps to promote a healthier lifestyle and to learn how to maintain that good weight once we reach it and not continue to gain a lot of excess weight after. Exercise and physical activity will help to keep your weight stable once you reach your goals, and that means it's important to stay active. Being physically active can help with decreasing fat mass and increasing muscle mass. So I'm sure you are all just loving this picture up on the screen. So as you can see, there are two masses. The top yellow mass is a scaled replica of 5 pounds of fat. As you can see, the red mass below it, this is a replica of 5 pounds of muscle. This is just a visual showing of how muscle mass weighs more than fat, because as you can see, the actual mass of the muscle is less than the mass of the fat, but it weighs the same. All of that to say, muscle mass is a great way to gain weight in a healthy way while still reaching your health and body goals. So now we'll talk a little bit about the importance of adequate nutrition and weight and physical activity in maintaining a good weight. So let's have a quick discussion on how to safely lose unwanted weight if you found that you may have gained a little bit too much after starting Trikafta. I have just listed a few generalized ideas on this slide, but make sure you speak with your team and dietitian just to have something more specific to you. So first, be mindful of unnecessary snacking. This happens to all of us. We may grab a handful of something here or there and not think much of it, but these are the calories that can sneak up on us really quick. If you are hungry, then of course, grab a nutritional snack, but make sure you're not just eating out of old habits. Also, sometimes our minds trick us and we may feel like we're hungry when our bodies are actually dehydrated. So if you find that you don't typically drink a lot of water or hydrating fluids during the day, and you find that you're hungry at non-meal times, maybe try sipping on something hydrating first, just to see if that helps and before you reach for something in the pantry. Another thing, kind of a tip would be, we no longer have to go for high fat, high calorie foods. Now that people are absorbing better after Trikafta, you can look for leaner meats, whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, with fruits and veggies taking up like half of your plate, with at least 4 servings a day. We want to fuel our body with foods that will help it flourish. So limiting the intake of fried foods, refined sugars, extra sugars is a great way to start. Also look at what you're drinking. There are a lot of calories and sugars and hidden stuff in beverages. So instead of drinking a large glass of sweet tea regularly or a soda, try any flavored water or sparkling water or something of that sort that actually hydrates your body. Also, trying to have a protein, fat, and carbohydrate at every meal and snack. This is really easy to grab a handful of chips or a little Debbie as a snack, but you may have realized that you're really hungry after doing this. That's because they are simple carbohydrates that our body runs through super quickly. And it leaves you with blood sugar spikes, blood sugar drops, and then hunger. So make sure if you have a protein, fat, and carbohydrate at every meal and snack, this will help with satiety and keep fueling your body with everything it needs to power through the rest of the day. And then last but not least, increasing physical activity and variation of it. Kayla may have an even better description on this part, but our bodies are really smart and will adapt to what we've been doing for a while. So making sure that you're changing up what you're doing at the gym or even with your walks going on incline, just so you're working more muscles, burning more calories, and teaching your body how to grow in fitness in a different way. Hopefully you all found these tips helpful. Again, please reach out to your team or dietitian for more specific guidelines to reach your weight and fitness goals. Again, thank you all for having me. Please feel free to put your questions into the Q&A section, and then we will get to them after we hear from Kayla. So let me stop sharing and pass it on to her.
Hi, y'all. Thank you so much, Katie. I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of share my personal experience with starting Trikafta and putting on some weight that I wasn't exactly prepared for. So to share my whole story, we'll rewind a little bit before Trikafta. I, like many people with CF, had a little bit of a difficult time trying to keep weight on. I usually ran between like anywhere from like 100 to 115 pounds. And basically my doctors were always saying like, need a little more, we need to be a little heavier, get that BMI up a little bit. So like I had to work really hard. I was always drinking whole milk. I was eating all the time, snacks, huge meals. I kind of took a little pride in how much food I could put away during a meal, because all my friends were always like mind blown by someone so small eating so much food. And then like in 2013, I started working out at the gym that I now am a coach at, and started trying to build muscle to help with the maintaining weight and putting it on. And so during that time, I went on Orkambi, I went on Symdeco, and so I was able to get my weight to be like 120 to 125 range. So I was pretty happy with that. But then November 2019, I started Trikafta, and pretty quickly saw my weight start to go up. I got to 130 and I was like, okay, that's probably good. But then it kept going and kept going. And by March of last year, I was up to 140. And I was at this spot where I was like, I mean, I was still working out a lot, but it just wasn't comfortable. I wasn't feeling confident anymore. It just felt like fluffy would be the word I use. And so I ended up actually reaching out to one of my coworkers at the gym who runs our nutrition program, and was like, hey, so never actually had to think about what I'm eating. I just was trying to get whatever I could in. And so he kind of started working with me. We started with very simple changes, because the whole thing was, in order to get something sustainable and to completely change my way of thinking about food, we had to make it little habits. And so my first habit that I had to work on was only eating when I was hungry. And that was something that I've never really even paid attention to. I ate when I was hungry. I ate when I was tired, when I was bored, when I was sad, mad, happy. Basically, I just ate food all the time throughout the day. So after I started getting good at just eating when I was hungry, another one was making sure I got at least 8,000 steps a day, because this was also right during the time when everything was shutting down. Our gym was closed. I was coaching people through Zoom, so there just wasn't as much movement as usual. And then other things were like only eating till you're like 80% full, like not stuffing my face until I had what I call my food baby after every meal, and just building habits. So I just kept going, like eat more fruits and vegetables, like Katie was talking about, getting enough water. I had one of my habits was getting 80 ounces of water a day at least, eating protein. So like all the things that Katie was talking about finding nutrition and foods that would fuel your body, instead of just whatever I could find. Another big one was not snacking as much, because it's very easy to just run to the pantry and get something to munch on because I'm bored. So that started like late March, early April, and by summer, I ended up back down to like 130. So I was back to like feeling confident, feeling like I had a good weight. And so since then, I'm still working on those same things, like just making sure I've got a balance of all the things I need. And I've really thrown myself even more now that I'm not teaching and I'm at the gym full time. I am working out more and more. So like I've got a lot of strength training. I'm trying to build all that extra weight into just muscle. And I do conditioning, but I also just like to go for walks and just get extra movement that way. So like Katie said again, like physical activity is a huge piece of me just being able to stay steady with this weight and have a nice balance. So that's my experience with gaining weight and how I kind of switched it up and got back to where I wanted to be. So pass it back to you, Lee.
Thank you, Kayla. I really appreciate you sharing your story with everyone today. I dare say it resonates with many who are listening, from just the historical, kind of experiences with cystic fibrosis, and then in the last year particularly. And I love the just simplicity of your changes that you worked into daily habits, because it really, I think we hear it a lot, diet and nutrition is a lifestyle choice, and there's no quick fixes. We would all love like a snap of fingers and we're at the perfect place we want to be, but I love just sort of the simplicity and the slow but steady approach that you took to making some changes that really made some impacts. So we are going to now open up the floor for questions and answers. I'll invite Dr. Tolle and Katie to join us back on camera. We've had a few pre-submitted, and I see a couple that have come in. If you have more, take this moment to start drafting those in the question and answer feature. And Kayla, I'll toss the first one to you. What are some of your favorite, like, easy take to work snacks? Something you don't have to cook or prep.
So for me, one of the go-tos that I tell other people is peanut butter, but I don't like peanut butter. I'm weird like that. So I usually like to have, since I've started working on my habits, like some kind of fruit or vegetable. Sometimes I'll take some like cottage cheese. It's a quick, easy, something I can eat. And protein bars, which I get through the Care Forward program, so I don't actually buy them, and it's great.
Nice extra tip there. Wonderful. Katie, we had a question come in. What would be some recommendations for organic or healthy products that could assist in weight gain? So someone who's still trying to put on a little bit of weight, but the non-candy, non-sugar route to do so.
Right, yeah. So organic is awesome. It also can sometimes be kind of expensive. So if you can't do organic, that is also totally fine. But just going for kind of like Kayla said, having like fruits or vegetables on hand, it's really nice. I'm kind of like Kayla, I don't like peanut butter, but I like almond butter. So I'll have like apples and almond butter. I'll just put in like a little Tupperware, shelf stable, so you don't have to keep it in a fridge. Little packages of nuts, or they have like those protein packs at the grocery store. They may be organic, they might not. I think you could probably pick, but it's like meat with cheese and almonds, or raisins and almonds or something, just so you're getting that fat, protein, and carb all together. There are so many different granola bars out there and protein bars. I would just look at the ingredients. Ingredient labels are kind of sneaky because the first ingredient is what is the most in there. So if you're looking at a food label and the first thing is high fructose corn syrup, I'd probably skip that one and go to something else. But there are lots of great bars out there. And just snacks, like it kind of depends on what your favorite things are. I actually like chomps, like it's like this whole foods non-processed like beef jerky, which is super easy to grab. I think it is actually organic and like paleo friendly. But there's a lot of different options out there, and I can definitely send out like a list.
Well, while we're talking ingredients, Katie, a question that came in today was, how would a gluten-free diet impact a person with CF?
Yeah, so I think gluten-free, it's very individualized. I think some people see inflammation and like maybe have gut issues with gluten. I think if you don't have those issues, I think it's great to have it. I think whole grains are a great source of way to get like nutrients and vitamins and things like that. So I wouldn't go gluten-free unless you feel like that does cause inflammation and things like that. If you are eating grains, if you're just taking out grains, and that's okay too. But so I don't know that it has specifically on all CF patients one certain impact. I think it's kind of hit or miss depending on each individual person.
Thank you, Katie. Dr. Tolle, I have a question for you. Trikafta has been approved for almost a year and a half now, and it seems common that people are gaining weight on Trikafta, although I know that's not the story all the way across the board. what would you say is maybe kind of the average that you're seeing when it comes to changes in BMI or weight gain? And do you think that that's kind of going to be a one-time bump and then people may find a new plane, or is that a continual upward trajectory unless otherwise intervened?
I think most people have gained weight. It's fairly variable. What I will say on Trikafta, the vast majority of patients have gained weight. And one of the nice things has been, even for some of the patients whose lung function's at the lower end of the spectrum, who don't necessarily see the average FEV1 increase that was published in the studies and that kind of stuff, most of those patients, in addition to feeling better, have seen their weight stabilize and have gained weight. It's hard to come up with a kind of an average number just because it's so variable. But I will say our proportion of patients coming out of red and yellow zone and the green zone has been high. It's been substantial. In terms of whether it's a one-time thing or not, I think a lot depends on everything we've been talking about today. We definitely have patients who have expressed frustration at a continued weight increase, kind of like what Kayla was describing, where they increase and they're really happy, and then they continue to increase and they are not as happy. So I do think it has the potential to be ongoing, although I mean, for many it's stabilized and probably obviously a lot of effort on their parts.
Well, thank you for that answer. Next question I have, I want to toss this one maybe to Kayla, and Katie, you might have a recommendation too, but we had a question come in. Are there any apps that you would suggest that you helped? Is there any sort of tech tool that you use maybe to support your well-rounded eating, diet, lifestyle?
Kayla, you want to go first? You want me to?
I mean, I was just going to say, I really haven't used anything like that, just because a lot of the apps that I've seen are more about like counting calories, and I didn't want that. Like I was never going to stick to something like that. I needed easier.
Simple.
Yeah.
Katie, what would you recommend if someone is looking for something?
MyFitnessPal, it is, like Kayla said, kind of calorie oriented, but if you want to kind of avoid that part, there's like two, if I haven't been on it in a minute, but I think there's like two parts where you can look at calories, or you can look at actually the breakdown of carbs, protein, and fat. And it has it for each individual food, as well as if you track your meal, it should like a tab where you can click and it'll put it into like a diagram type of a thing. So it's really good. It doesn't have every single food on there, but just if you wanted a general guideline to track for like the first week or so, I think that's a great one.
I have used MyFitnessPal in the past, and it's very educational. Sometimes you think you know what certain things are going to contain, and then you start logging them, and it's a surprise. But Katie, you mentioned kind of calories versus macros. If someone's looking to figure out, I know you can go into the app and you can put your height and your weight, and it'll auto generate some numbers for you. But I imagine for an individual with CF, that's probably maybe not something to lean on or to trust, that it should be a little more individualized. How should someone go about figuring out really what sort of numbers they should be striving for?
So what I like to do, especially just in general population, but especially in CF, because everyone's lung function varies, pancreatic sufficiency varies. I like to have people, and even myself, I've done it before, track what I eat. And I don't push this for forever, but just for like 3 to 5 days, and then look at your calories that you're intaking and making sure to document all of them. Because you might have a really high metabolism and you're eating 4,000 calories a day and maintaining. And someone might be eating like 1,500 and maintaining. So it varies by person. So I don't have like a specific number for every individual person, but just tracking calories for a couple of days, seeing what you're getting. And then actually, this is kind of like, if you Google it, common knowledge, about 3,500 calories equals a pound. So if you notice that you're gaining weight too quickly, tracking your calories for like a week or so, and then trying to decrease by 500 calories-ish a day will help you to lose a pound a week, if that makes sense. So that's one way to do it. I'm like Kayla, I don't love tracking calories. I feel like that can get really nitpicky really quickly. But just if you want like a standard guideline, just to kind of get an idea of what you're doing, just for like a week or so. That would be how I would recommend, just kind of like a general guideline of it.
Yeah, and then one other thing I would add, when I started working on my habits, I had like an actual tracker on like a spreadsheet. So it was like on my 80 ounces of water a day. I just checked it off or didn't, and then I could easily easily see how many days did I actually hit that goal, how many days did I not? Because if you just keep it all in your head, it's very easy to think you're doing better than you are on something. So
yeah, the days start running together pretty quickly, I imagine. Particularly in pandemic time period where days rarely felt different from the others. Let's see, I see one more question here. So if anyone else has something that's kind of been bouncing around their heads, take this last question chance to put it in the chat or in the Q&A. Katie, I think this came in when you were talking about enzymes, and Dr. Tolle, I don't know if you want to jump in on this one too, but it says, do you see a change in most patients' dosage for enzymes? You know, are they typically having to move up or down? I believe we were maybe talking in reference to post-modulator.
Yeah, I feel like majority of the patients I've seen are actually stay on their same dose. I've maybe had one or two who have gone down a capsule. I haven't really had anyone that's gone up, and well, that's okay. I take that back, because if there's a lot of weight gain, then typically we'll end up going up. Symptom wise, if weight maintenance, typically it just ends up being around the same dose. I have had some patients who try to go lower on their enzyme dose, and then it's like extreme malabsorption symptoms, and I'm like, that's how we didn't do it. So I would not recommend going down or up really, unless you notice either constipation, stomach pain, bloating, or lots of like greasy stool and malabsorption signs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would just add that, I mean, I think one of the unknowns early on in Trikafta was, you know, would it change pancreatic function? We call pancreatic excrement function, which is the release of those enzymes. And the textbook would be, no, it shouldn't, because that's a change that becomes fixed a long time ago, you know, in most patients. And so, you know, but there were some patients who were saying that they were, you know, they needed less enzymes. But I think I would agree with Katie that the vast majority have not changed unless there's been an increase in weight. But I would say, you know, like all things, I mean, it's so individualized. We have had some patients who have had a change in their, you know, sort of bowel function and have found that the decreasing. But I would say that has been more rare. And as Katie said, a lot more who decreased and then had malabsorption symptoms and went back up.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was just going to add my personal. I've kept all of mine the same, but one change I have noticed is if I do happen to accidentally forget my enzymes or something, the next day has not been as miserable. So, so I've kept
a little more grace,
but there's a little silver lining.
That is fair. The rain is pouring down here, so if you all are hearing any background noise in my camera, it is solid rain here. But I want to thank all of our speakers today. I know everyone's CF journey is different. It is unique. And so I appreciate them being willing to come on and to speak on a topic that really is specialized and unique, but to do it in a way that could benefit our community at large. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tolle to kind of give us a few closing remarks, and we'll wrap up our call.
Yeah, so I want to echo the thanks. Thank you for coming out today and watching this. And thank you for everything you're doing to help in the fight to help improve patients with CF's quality of life. And that's something we've really started to focus on more, I think, thanks to these highly effective modulator treatments that have helped improve so many of the basics of the disease. But improving quality of life, especially, you know, through nutrition, is becoming a major focus for us. And certainly reach out to us with any questions, any other concerns you might have or thoughts. We welcome them.